Hello, everybody. Uh, Good morning. This is Dr. Rao Kulusu speaking. Uh, I'm here to do my room. Uh, this is about something I grew up with and something makes a lot of sense to me and a lot of sense to everybody else too. That is the simple living and higher thinking. Something that people have been contemplating. And let me get my microphone for the live streams. Sorry about that. I should have arranged this earlier, but I forgot. So, this is about simple living and higher thinking that we grew up with when I was in India doing my medical training. This was said to be uttered by Mr. Gandhi. Mohandas Gandhi, we call it Mahatma Gandhi. It's a great soul, like because he was always for the entire society, and he was always emphasizing the fact that our life should be simple and we should be doing our stuff and we should be cultivating our own food products and even weaving our clothes and then really reflecting ourselves inwardly and looking at truths of the life in a bigger way. Maybe we can study the ancient texts and learn the wisdom from the great masters or great sages. That was his thing. Everybody thought he was a freedom fighter, and everybody thought he was a social reformer, and yeah, here he was a truth seeker and truth teller and all that, right? One time, somebody asked him a question: "What is your mission? What is that you really want to achieve in life?" And he said, "I'm a very simple man. I just want to find out the truth about God and realize God or self-realize." That was his aim, and that used to be the case with many of the ancients, and their life endeavor was to be simple and consume as many things as few things as possible from the earth, and at the same time employ their human intelligence to turn inward and realize who they are. That was the purpose of life, they said, of the human life. So even contemporary situation now, if you take it, all the damage that is being done to the planet can be minimized if we all go simpler life outside instead of just occupied with producing more things. I know this is not popular, but if you really look at it, other people are doing stuff and all the time running about making stuff and using stuff and consumerism, commercialism, rampant consumerism. This is what I always talk about. So, can we have a minimalization of our life, kind of life needs? Then having this satisfaction with what we have will go a long way about peace of mind, inner happiness, and contentment, and all that. That was something that they expounded even in the yoga practice. Say, as I told before, there are 8 steps in the Astanga Yoga of Patanjali. That's the Bible of the yoga, really. But here, so many other texts are beautiful too. But this was really exposed about how to really manage our mind. That was the book about. The book was about mind management. In the process, keeping the physical body healthy was something that they talked about, but that is not the essential and only thing. That's an essential and needed thing, but not that is the only thing, right? So they talked about mind management, they talked about turning inward, and all of that. Patanjali himself wrote another book for the body, that's an Ayurveda. Few people know about it, and he also wrote a book about the grammar of Sanskrit. So three books he wrote. One of the books is Patanjali Yoga Sutras, which is a Bible for the yoga practitioners. In that he mentions about asana, that is the postures of what modern people are doing as one step. And you can use that for health of the body and all. But if you don't want to limit to the body and go beyond, then other steps are important, right? So I'm always fascinated by what they discovered about the mind themselves. I am familiar with the modern version of the mind and the neuroscience part of it, and then neuroplasticity. I'm familiar with all of that. But what I learned on the mind by the yogis, that is really phenomenal. I was always bowled over whenever I see their insights. They are beyond psychology, more positive psychology at the time, beyond neuroplasticity. They have the neuroplasticity ingrained in that, and they're all also about attention, concentration, the neuroscience of it they explored at the time. So they did not give the terms in the modern terms, but then they have Sanskrit terms which are different. But if you look at it, they are so far ahead in this insights about mind that is really fascinating. And then they said, if you have uh, one of the eight steps is first is yama, niyama, right? In the niyama, that's the principles by which you go. You have to be content with whatever you have. Santosha, they call it. That means you are happy with what is out there, and then you go from there, right? So they didn't really proliferate the desires of external things like the modern society are doing, because they kind of built it as though you live this life, whichever it is the quality or not, and accumulate all the things, enjoy those things. That is the dictum, right? That's not really uh, helping the planet now, and not even helping the people, because those people who are only engaged in doing things and doing it all the time, they are missing out on what is inside of them and not able to reflect on that and be happy and peaceful within, because the happiness is peace is within, right? So that's why what people may have pleasure from acquiring things that is fleeting, that doesn't stay, and it is addictive too. But if you take fundamental real peace and always staying with you, you have to turn inward. That's the thing. So this thing about simple living and higher thinking planted in my mind, and I was very happy to be with the things I have. Only thing I wanted was I want to become a doctor so that I can help people. I don't know, that was like a calling since eighth grade. Nobody put it in me; it just happened. And then other thing was the practical things also. I had the medical college in my own town, so I don't have to go out and expense and all that. So I could stay with my mom with my house, and then I studied, and that resulted very well. So that kind of worked out for me, right? But then beyond that, it's not like we have to accumulate so much of riches, or it's not like we have to accumulate so much of name. None of that. It's just that we could be useful. We can be very, very happy by serving what we want to serve, by relieving the suffering in the world, by working as a doctor, right? That was, I thought, was a privilege to be able to be in that position. And it was not a seed of ego build like what is happening in the modern life. It was more like a, I can help, and how can I help? So Gandhi's values were very much ingrained in the early childhood, right? And later on, as I come to know other great thinkers like Krishnamurti, like Ramana Maharshi, other people, and we could really understand what is going inside, how is discovering the forever fulfillment that we have inside, and then come out with more simplicity outward. See? So they talked about desireless state, they talked about lack of ambition and all that, but at the same time being active and doing things as though you are doing them for the sake of divine will, and you don't have an agency and you are not craving for the fruits. That is karma yoga, right? So let's come to the simple living. Nowadays, there is a movement I observed in youngsters here in United States. It's called minimalism. There were books written. There are a lot of people applying those principles. What they do is they kind of minimalize clothing, minimalize what kind of foods they eat, and minimalize what kind of living spaces they occupy. You know, simplicity in this has really helped them not to have mortgages, not to have debt, and not to have all the time occupied by something. So, and they were able to enjoy the nature. They were able to enjoy the family. They were able to go around and travel. So one kid I know that he traveled with his friend together. They had only one suitcase packed, and then they had only a couple of shirts, couple of pants like that. And then when they wear one, they wash the other one, and that's how they minimalize their living to the core. I think that's kind of very very tough for a lot of people to do. It looks like an extreme, but the thing is they were really happy because they have a tranquil mind. They don't have this desire going from one to the other all the time, right? They've had very few things that they want to strive for to acquire, and they learn to live minimally in all aspects of life. But then when it comes to contribution to the society, they kind of exerted themselves to give out the best they can. They were traveling around and telling people, this is the way we are living. Look at the good things about this. Reflect on this, understand why we are doing it, what we are doing it, how our quality of life has transformed because of this minimalism. That was their campaign, and they were doing from one border to other border. I thought that was great. When I saw that. So there are books written on this. Minimalism is a book I read too, and there were a lot of people traveling like this, propagating this, and then giving a voice to that because they were intensely concerned about the planet and intensely concerned about the human unhappiness because of their doing stuff all the time. So that is something we should really consider. How can we at least attempt to minimize instead of having too many things accumulated? Can we live with few things? Can we distribute them to other people? That kind of thing, right? So I'm really fascinated about that. And then I have been simple all along. I don't really go and buy everything on a whim because I don't have that kind of impulses anymore. But I'm more happy to just sit and be in that dhyana we call it. And then we are very happy with that too. Now, ancient cultures had this simple living, higher thinking, and beyond thinking. Why we lost that is because it is very attractive to have this desires and to have this fulfilled and thinking the fulfillment of the desires will bring us happiness. Is that so? It may have some pleasure fleetingly, momentarily, but after the desires are fulfilled, are you continuously happy? Are you peaceful within? That's a question everybody has to ask themselves. So this is what I really think is important to consider of living simply outwardly and really having a higher thinking and beyond thinking. You see, thinking is not just enough, but you got to go deeper and find out about yourself. Is there a faculty beyond my thinking? Because thinking is happening to me, right? So something is happening. That witness, that consciousness, that is the awareness that we are. Once we are established this, even thoughts don't bother us. We can think accordingly. We can replace negative with positive and all that. So, but that is a different subject. But for now, can we look at this uh, indulgent, really extravagant lifestyle, and can we make small changes? Can we understand it? That's the thing I'm talking about. Um, Not only as a duty to the planet, but also as a duty to yourself. Do you want to get lost in the luxuries and pleasures of the world, or do you want to be more than that? One time, Vivekananda had this saying. He said, That person who wants to go to the hills and retire meditating and then indulge in some in himself has missed the way. And the person who is involved in all the luxuries, all the uh, comforts, all the uh, desires of the external world, he lost the way too. So it is in the in between. He said, first go and realize who you are, that is self-realization, and then go and work for the welfare of the world, relieve suffering, do the voluntary work, you know, that kind of thing. Always he talked about, you know. So that's in Sanskrit they said, Atma Mokshardham Jagat Hitacha. First, every human being has to turn inward and realize who they are. That is the Atma Moksha Artha, right? Then, then you turn around, say Jagat Hitacha, welfare of the world, not your selfish desires, but the welfare of the world. Then you are involved in the service of the divine in the form of human beings or animals and plants or the earth, you know, all of that. And that is, I thought, very profound, very important, and puts our purpose or meaning of life in a particular way. You know, it's not about only particular Hindus, particular Indians. He started. He said for the entire world. He was here in the United States and he established the Vedanta society, and the society is now reaching millions of people. You know, I know their work here in America, how extensively they are doing. You know, they are giving a lot of surveys to enlighten people about deeper truths of life. And that's one thing Vivekananda or other people always talked about. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. We are all one planet, one world, one human tribe, you know, and we got to act like that. You know, we are not separate countries geographically and then fighting with each other and all. So the simple living really helps you to really embark on this higher thinking, because you don't have to work for so many things that you may not need. A lot of people earn a lot of money, a lot of things in their life, but they don't find them useful, or they are bored with them after all. Then they go for something else. So that's what I'm talking about. Instead of getting that treadmill like that, you know, can you really understand the importance of simple life outwardly, and elevating your consciousness, elevating your thought level, so that you can be perceptive of deeper things that are available to us. You know, I really think that is very uh, beneficial and blissful to be touch with our real self, our real nature, and then establish ourselves whereby our movement of thought also is not wild and going all over. So you are more meditative, you are more blissful in establishing yourself in that awareness that we are. Okay. So that's what I wanted to say for today. You know, I think it's not preaching; it's just bringing uh, a notion to your attention. I'm sure a lot of people already doing this, but those people who are not familiar with this, you know, I just want to introduce and then reinforce. If anybody wants to talk about it, you can come up, you know, and I will have few minutes to talk to you. Otherwise, I will close the room. Okay. I just said what I need to say, then you can. Okay, then if you are satisfied with that, and I will close the room for now, and I'll see you again when I can. Bye.